Deleted session, May 8, 1978. Now tell Robert I said happy birthday. Ross said thank you. They said body motion is obviously of itself healing in nature. Robert's new and more ambitious movement about the house, using the chair, has activated the body's motion, of course, so let massaging-like effects occur. In his particular case, as mentioned, the knees and legs are allowed far greater exercise than before, while the body is in a more or less normal position. That activation has indeed begun now, and highly important release of the upper portions of the body. Areas are being reawakened, and the circulation greatly increased in certain areas. It is not necessary to trace nerve pathways, and yet the stretching of both legs and muscles reawakens and quickens nerve impulses. All portions of the body are now being stretched. Before, relatively speaking, each portion of the body reinforced the position of each other portion in such a manner that little leeway was possible. Robert now is at a stage where each portion of the body takes a more positive, active position and gently nudges each other part to greater freedom. In other words, the new changes do not meet with such resistance, but now the definite improvements can begin an overall acceleration. The greater release of the knees allows for a greater freedom of the trunk, which in its turn further frees the knees and so forth. Robert has done very well in understanding these body changes and has been aided by your support there. I am pleased to see that he moves about in the chair more and more. That intent to move further activates the body and sends impulses through it, for it knows it is meant to move about on 2 feet. Those impulses quicken the physical changes so that the two go together, as in the kitchen he now feels like standing, or wants to walk from the sink to the table. Give us a moment. I want to point out that the said groups throughout the country are far more significant than you might realize, for they are not formed as a result of any kind of promotion. They arise spontaneously, and despite the fact that you do not actively encourage them or even pat them on the back. In that respect, they are grassroots, coming from the people themselves. Those people interpret our books from their own levels. They regard the books as their discoveries. They buy the books for friends and relatives. They try to pass on the ideas to parents or children, and to interpret them through home life and through areas of work and community. They invest time and enthusiasm, and that kind of grassroots development is in the long run more apt to change the beliefs of a society than any authoritative dictates from the specialists, whatever their field. You are reaching tomorrow's authorities. To each today's authorities, you must make too many concessions, and that is true of anyone who hopes to produce great work in any area. Men in the sciences have years and years invested in a particular system, upon which their reputations, self-respect, and livelihood depend. They have inbuilt leanings, then, quite understandably, if regrettably, that mitigate against their looking with clear eyes upon work that shows the gaps in their own understanding or systems. Your work, in any case, is the interpretation of reality through your own experience, providing a new and creative view of man and the universe. You want that view of yourselves. It has always been your individual and joint search, a private determination to glimpse what you could of the nature of man that was not glimpsed before. Your original purpose was the purpose of the creative artist or of the mystic, and that kind of purpose automatically brings you in rebellion against official authority. Your original purpose did not involve gaining the respect of those authorities, and it is. If you will forgive me, overall short-sighted to worry about the approval of such people in your time. It can make you bitter for no reason, for this kind of creative work exists outside of its time and will still be read when the old authorities no longer exist in your terms. You must do what you want because you want to do it, and if the authorities listen, well and good, and if not, it is their loss. The ideas will grow in any case. Whenever possible, then outside of normal considerations, both of you should concentrate upon the creative, intuitive elements of what you are involved in. Forget such things as impressing the authorities, so that they somehow will change the world. Do not expect the books to sell like novels, as I have told you. Free yourselves from such considerations with their implications. Those implications are the kind of things that trigger in Ruber worries about meeting scorn or criticism, worries that then set up their own chains of reactions. Don't be bothered that parapsychologists are not knocking at your doors. Ruber's abilities lie outside of their realm, and they know it. They are doing the best that they can in their framework, but you do not fit into their framework. This may sound simple, and yet all such considerations serve to weigh you both down, and they color your attitudes far more than you realize. I know you both fairly well. For now, I suggest that you not contact your famous agent. Rob noted, Scott. They said you are not being treated like merchandise apprentice, whatever apprentice's fault might be, and you would be treated like merchandise by the high-powered agent, who would consider you a fine property and expect you to act accordingly. You are making a good living. There is nothing at all wrong with wanting, say, to become a millionaire. But if you simply concentrate upon the creative, personal elements in your lives, your writing in the notes, your painting, Ruber's writing and psychic freedom, then everything else will fall into place. You will each have more frequent and fulfilling psychic experiences as a result. The other ideas I mentioned, to some extent, now cast an unclear light, so that the attitudes they invoke are in conflict with your original, most pervasive goals. In Ruber's case, such considerations make him feel set against the world, where actually that social world has rather agreeably enough allowed you room and a certain platform on its stage. Through your readership, you have a considerable number of people, considerable in all walks of life, who wish you well. There is no need for Ruber to anticipate scorn. There is no need either, however, for him to imagine that he has any responsibility to go out into that mixed social arena to do tours or appear on television. He anticipates scorn if he did so. He would indeed meet a large range of reactions. Scorn would be the least of them. He would meet honor, belief, respect, disbelief, anger, love, and some scorn. Such a career addition would be bound to change, of course, and the foundations of your lives. I do not believe you are willing to meet people on that basis. Rowett, would you mind doing that? They said, do you want me to go on the Johnny Carson show? Row said, I don't know. They said, under certain conditions, I would certainly appear on television, for I have done so, but I also have your natures to think of. Quite lovely, by the way. Your pendulum work continues to be a help. because it keeps such issues before your eyes. Robert should read our last session particularly once or twice a week, for it will reinforce your pendulum work. Robert's body is geared for full recovery now, so keep that point determination in mind. Trust your nature, and then you will see that when you consider mistakes are simply insights that come out of place, so to speak, and that has to do with your remarks before the session. I am closing the session early, and in the time left over, I would like Robert to soak his knees. As you read this session, however, try to see how those attitudes that I mentioned do clutter up your mind to some extent. You set yourself, if you will forgive me, internal goals. Along the way, your livelihood has been provided for, and you have a framework in which to work. Many people hold you in respect and regard. In larger terms, however, your goals are not temporary, so do not become overly concerned, with temporal considerations. They impede your private psychic experiences, for they add stresses you do not need. End of session. Rob, will you say something about my dream of last Saturday morning? They said, as you noted, the dream provided a distorted glimpse of your visitors. The older man was the one you saw. The apples did provide the painting connection with the girl, and the dream was very simple, a distorted view into tomorrow's mirror. I am more concerned that you each, to some degree, have inhibited your subjective freedoms, and not allowed yourself the opportunity for an even richer diet of dreams and psychic experience. I hope this session would rectify the situation. And it should. Rob asked, how about those people selling those tapes? Should we forget about that? They said, I had hoped you would not act, for my suggestion is not yours. At the most, a letter from Robert. My framework is different from yours. I do not see how such people can hurt you in any way. If you wanted to make money from the tapes, you could have. If they make money from the tapes, you do not make less. I am quite aware, however, that such affairs can appear quite complicated, but your situation cannot be threatened by such people unless you allow it to be. Good ideas are going out into the world. The tapes are not artistically produced. They are not tapes of quality in that regard. They are tapes of quality in another regard, and they cannot be reproduced forever. End of session, and a fond good evening. Ross said, okay, thank you. They said, my comments this evening are simply made in response to my knowledge of your original goals and rubrics. Only in their light are those other attitudes detrimental.